Right, welcome to the next episode of Growing Consultancies. Today I'm delighted to be joined by Mike Lally of Cadence Projects. Mike, welcome.
Thank you for having me.
We've been trying to do this for a while,
Yep.
because obviously I film in Manchester and London. Pesky in Birmingham. I'll be talking about setting up a podcast studio. I think that's something you were maybe talking about doing.
I'll do you a good keen rate on that one.
Yeah, absolutely. I might take you up on that. So, Mike, for everybody who doesn't know you, can you just first of all explain who Cadence are, current headcount, maybe sectors that you focus in, etc.
Yeah, sure. So Cadence Projects are a project management consultancy primarily, but recently have also kind of taken our first foray into QSing. So we're a team of 12, which is one QS, one ops director, and the rest all PMs, including myself, because I stay reasonably hands-on with stuff. Although the guys will probably laugh when they hear that. And we've got another 4 joining us, so we'll be 16 in the next 2 months.
Brilliant.
5 years old as a business, just turned 5. And based out of Birmingham is our headquarters, but we also got a small office in Manchester and London to service clients in both regions.
Brilliant. And would you say a particular sector focus for the business?
Historically, lots of residential-led master plan, everything from student accommodation, retirement living, built to sell, built to rent, but more recently diversified quite a lot, and we're about 50-50 public-private now.
Okay.
Lots of transport, lots of local authority, regen, some university work, and then there's just the odd bonkers project that we shout about a lot, things like the Eternal Wall of Answered Prayer. We've got a Chinese arch. We've got there's some quite quirky projects in there, which are always the good poster boys.
And keeps it interesting, doesn't it?
It
Just
does.
a bit of variety sometimes.
Yep. Yeah, that's it.
Good.
It. So we try not to pigeonhole ourselves too much.
Yeah. So people always like to know the backstory. How did you end up in construction?
My dad's fault in reality.
Right.
I was a music student who was not enjoying my degree.
Right.
And my dad's a builder.
Right.
So I decided to jack the degree and go and get a job. And I went and worked for him for a while, and I really enjoyed it. I'd worked for him growing up as well. Yeah. But being out on site and talking to clients and all that kind of thing was kind of what made me tick. And so it was him that suggested, well, why don't you go and do a degree in this and make something of it. So I went and did a construction project management degree at Salford.
Right.
Went down to London, worked in high-end fit-out for a little while, and then I got a graduate role with Mace.
Mace Consult or Mace Construct?
Mace Consult, yeah. But they offered me a job in Birmingham, which wasn't the plan. Wasn't never any intention to move to Birmingham. I'm from South Manchester, and I was working in London. Right. I was quite happy to stay in London or probably go back to Manchester, but Birmingham opportunity came, and Mace was a big name in 2012.
Still is, yeah.
And they were doing all the cool things, the Olympics and the Shard and all that kind of stuff. So that's where I wanted to be. Yeah. So I took the opportunity and thought I'd be there for a year or two. And what am I now? 14 years later, and started a business 5 years ago in Birmingham. So it's pretty much home now.
Brilliant. So then, I think after Mace, you were at RLB for a short while. Is that correct?
Did a stint at Bureau 4, 18 months. Yeah. And then I got a call from RLB asking if I'd be interested in a partner level role, which for me at the time was a big step up. Yeah, brilliant. So I took the jump, and I ended up, after about 6 months, running the PM team there in the Midlands, across Midlands Central. Did 3.5 years, and then when COVID hit, decided to start Cadence and do my own thing.
So what was that? What was that catalyst? What was it that you had COVID to reflect on it? Did you have it in mind pre-COVID? What was the catalyst for it?
I think because I'd grown up in a household where, looking at my dad running his own business, I was familiar with that, and always had at the back of my head that I'd like to start my own business and grow my own business at some point. But COVID accelerated that for sure. But it was also coupled with the birth of my first child, which she was born 3 days before the first national lockdown. So she came, we went into a world that changed forever, and we had a beautiful summer where we got our hours walk out, once a day, and on those walks, me and the wife, kind of started talking, would it be a good time? And we just couldn't think of any good reasons why not to try it in reality. So I put my notice in that summer and worked that out and started off in February 21.
Right, okay. And so how long was it just you before you started to grow?
About 3 or 4 months
before
before Tom, who's one of our directors, came and joined us. That was slightly opportunistic. One of our long-term clients, Inspired Villages, a retirement living developer, they just asked if they could move across to Cadence, and Tom was doing a lot of their work, and so it was quite a natural fit that he moved with it. And
sometimes what you need is a bit of luck, don't you?
Yeah,
a bit of opportunity with a small business.
Well, we settled the business and pressed go on the basis that we had a big high-rise resi tower in Manchester to start us off. And on week 2 of Cadence, that project got canned, and I was kind of twiddling my thumbs and thinking, what's going to come next? But thankfully, within a week, we'd started to get some traction with Tamworth Council.
Good.
A small interim role for 3 months turned into a 5-year programme.
Right.
And we're still working with them now. So
Brilliant.
Tamworth was our first client, and that was the enabler really to start growing the business. And we had a kind of a new person in every 6 months for the first few years, and then had a bit of hiatus through 24, 25 when a lot of the big resi projects slowed down, whether it was building Gateway or some of them had planning issues, some of them were viability issues. So we slowed it down a bit during that period, and we settled around 7 or 8 people. But in the last 6 months or so, it's really started to rocket again.
Good.
So I think we'll be 20 people by the end of the year is what the business plan says, and at the moment we're on business plan, so
brilliant.
Got to keep recruiting basically.
Yeah, good. And at what stage did you decide, what we need to go beyond Birmingham, sort of Manchester and London? When was that decision made to look at those?
As a strategy, it's always been the strategy to have. We've always joked about having a spine of Manchester, Birmingham, London, and then throwing New York on top. And so New York hopefully is one day, but that's a different kettle of fish to try and get it going. But for me, Birmingham's a great place to deliver projects around the country. Most big cities are within 2 hours travel time, and therefore it's made it really easy for us to pick up projects in London. We've got projects in Leeds, projects in the Northwest. But there's a certain element of certain clients, you need to be in the city. You need to have a presence. You need to be able to respond in 20 minutes rather than 2 hours. And because I'm from South Manchester, I always wanted to do Manchester and get that presence in the city and have a good excuse to go and see family more often, to be honest. And London is just the behemoth that it is, that you can't ignore London.
Absolutely.
It's a place that once you start to get a bit of a foothold, the pace and the scale and the frequency of projects is there, that it makes absolute business sense to do it.
It's like nowhere else in the UK, is it?
Exactly.
Yeah, absolutely.
Exactly.
Good, excellent. And then you've had a pretty stressful, say, more than a year. So added to try and build a consultancy, which, arguably 24, 25 were tough years to build continue to build a consultancy. You then decided to throw in buying a building.
Yeah, we do like to bite off more than we can chew, really. It's generally been the strategy is do everything all at once at all times.
Yeah.
It was the office was a bit opportunistic.
Yes.
We were in Assay Studios, which is opposite where the office is that we bought. And we were looking to move. We knew we'd outgrown Assay. They didn't have a space for us to grow into.
Okay.
We were flirting with going back into the city core, into the business district. But we liked being in the jewellery quarter. And the building opposite went up for sale. And we did inquire about it straight away for a lease, to see if we could lease a floor. But they weren't interested. They either wanted to lease the whole building on a full repair and lease or to sell it. And so we said, okay, fair enough, we'll leave it. And it was only then 6 months later that my wife said, well, have anybody actually asked how much it's going to be? And so we inquired about the guide price, and it was a bit of a stretch, but we went in a bit below it and they accepted the offer, and that then started 10 months of the process to acquire it, which turned out to be a lot more arduous than we thought. We essentially restructured the entire business to make it work.
Okay.
But it worked, and we got the building in December 24. We found that there was quite a bit more wrong with it than we had hoped and expected, particularly from a kind of a boiler and lighting systems and all that kind of thing.
I can't recall the Tom Hanks film where who buys a house and it's a complete disaster. And often, sometimes I spoke to you during some of those stressful times. The lift was a big issue, wasn't it? Which is like,
the lift's not quite there yet, but it's quite good for us taking the stairs. But no, it's turned into a bit of a passion project, really.
Good.
You know, it's a Grade 2 listed Victorian building.
Wow, amazing.
We've managed to bring some of the original features back, and it looks fantastic now. And hopefully, we've got our final space letting next week, and so we've taken the top floor, and then we've let out 4 office units below us.
Brilliant.
And 3 of them are taken. And there's one that's under offer at the moment.
Amazing. No, fair play to you. I know speaking to you last couple of years, there have been times where it's like got you inside like your head was going to explode because you're juggling that many balls, I guess, with it. And
but that finishes, and then you find something else to challenge yourself.
Obviously, you can't get bored, can you?
No, gluttons for punishment.
So, apart from maybe not buying a vaguely derelict building and trying to do it up, are there any lessons you've learned since running the business that maybe you'd either do things differently or you'd advise anybody starting their own thing to, any lessons you've learned that you think would be useful to share?
I mean, we've learned loads of things by making mistakes, and it's the quickest and easiest way to learn.
It is.
Probably not the easiest way to learn, but it's the quickest way to learn.
Yeah.
I mean, it's kind of well echoed around many businesses, but cash is everything.
100%,
And I think partly due to the slowdown, but partly due to the cost of the building and everything, that slowed us down. That slowed our growth down a little bit.
Okay.
Because we were having to really be careful about what was coming in and what was going out. But it taught us a good lesson. It taught us good financial discipline. And we've put in systems and processes that put us at the forefront of managing our kind of financial information, and we make good decisions now on the back of that. But in terms of things to I suppose if somebody were to ask, what would you recommend somebody thinking about it? Just do things. I had a mentor when I was at Mace, who his thing was, you as a leader, you're going to make lots of decisions in life. And you don't always know what the right decision is, but one way or another, make a decision and make it the right one. And that's kind of what I've always stuck in my head, is to, when we're thinking about doing stuff, make decisions quickly. If it doesn't work, you can always reverse. But if you're going to do something, give it everything and go for it. And 9 times out of 10, if you give it conviction and you put some time and effort and often some money into it, and you things move forward.
And I think that's pretty sound advice. I think some businesses just die through indecision, don't they? Because they just don't make a decision and get on with it.
That's okay.
And often, how hard is it to reverse a decision? It probably isn't at the end of the day. So, or you can spend forever killing yourself with analysis and not make a decision, which is dangerous.
So I think that, and I think also just trusting the people around you. Be able to delegate, be able to let people do what they're good at. If you try and run everything, control everything, which is tempting to do when it's your own business and it feels like it's your baby, and you're the one that's taking the risk and you want to see it fly. But the reality is, we've learned over the last couple of years that it's not the Mike Lally show. It's Cadence, and Cadence is a group of really good people that if I disappeared tomorrow would continue without me. So that's probably the one thing that kind of had to personally learn is, let go of it a little bit and let people do their job.
Yeah, good.
Do it well.
And when you say that's the case, you think the business is already now sufficiently standalone that I'm not saying that you wouldn't be missed, but you think it would?
It wouldn't be seamless, but I think
good.
so. I think
that's a great place to be, mate, for the size business you are. You know, honestly, that's
we've worked quite hard for the last 2 years to make the business work without me and Rose, who's our ops director, and my wife, because longer term, you know, you read any kind of business guides, understand your exit plan, understand your long-term strategy,
100%.
and whether you plan to exit or not, having that in mind and structuring a business in a way that it doesn't all focus around individual people, hopefully improves the value of the business, but B, means that it's a bit more kind of bulletproof. And we have some great directors, Matt and Tom, who lead the business from a project management point of view. Dan, who's joined us now as our QS lead, and a really, really good group of seniors and ADs below them who are pushing every day to go the next step, to take the next challenge. And you can see it already. You can see there's a good platform of people, like, you know, the next step down, who could take over and run the business in a few years' time.
Amazing.
So it's very much been the plan and the strategy, and with the best will, knowing that I can go on holiday and not have to check my phone and check my emails and all that kind of thing, and it all just works.
Yeah, brilliant.
It takes a lot of pressure off.
No, it absolutely does, and I think a lot of business owners get in their own way with that, don't they? Like I say, they're control freaks. They want to control absolutely everything, and they're often the barrier to entry. It's not that the people below them are not talented enough.
Yeah.
It's that those people are not being given the opportunity to prove that they're talented enough, in essence.
No, exactly.
I think is often the case.
Exactly.
So where, I don't know, let's say 3 years' time from now, where do you see the business in terms of, you know, potential headcount? New York office.
yeah, exactly. So we're working on a business plan which for the next 5 years, 4 years now, until 2030.
Right.
So 3 years is a stepping stone on that, but we're working on a plan to grow to 12 million turnover.
Brilliant.
We reckon that we'll need 60 to 70 people to do that, which is quite a high turnover head.
It's outside of London. I appreciate you're in London now.
And I know you shared some metrics about that before. But we're not just planning on working people to death to achieve that. We have some really good clients who do pay well.
Good.
And we focused on growing those clients where we know they've got regular repeat work, but they also pay good fees for good quality service, and they're willing to pay for that. You know, the right level of resource to deliver the right project.
Good.
Which means that you get quite a good fee per fee on that basis. But also we're investing more in our tools and our systems and the automation of what we do to remove the admin. Because PM particularly, and QS to a certain extent, there's a huge amount of admin in our role. If we can remove the admin and allow the PMs and the QSs to get stuck in, be client facing, actually, you know, attending meetings and doing the things they need to do to kind of generate income and move the business forward, then in theory we should be able to get a higher fee per fee earner as a result of it.
Yeah, good. So this is a big subject matter at the moment. A lot of people are looking at, you know, tech, automation, AI. Well, I think a lot of people are calling it AI, and actually a lot of it is tech and automation. Yeah. The AI will undoubtedly change the industry, but just talk us through what you're doing so far, and maybe if you're happy to share what kind of platforms you're using for that at the moment.
So we're probably, like most businesses, trying to figure out what's the best route and what works and what doesn't. We use Fixer, which is an email kind of filter system. It automates your responses, kind of pre-drafts emails essentially as a response.
And is that good? Because one thing
it's okay. It's okay. I do end up editing most of the drafts reasonably heavily. It's quite funny actually. You can tell it the kind of tone that you want, and you know, I'd say, you know, I like a little cheeky tone in there, and it suggests things and you know, little quips and little jokes that kind of it thinks you would say, because it learns based upon the way you write emails. Okay. And it's really funny reading them back, because, like, you know, if that's what the computer thinks I am. So Fixer's okay, and Fixer also does automated meeting minutes from Teams and all that kind of thing. But we've just pressed go on fully integrating Copilot into all of our systems. Okay. So the full paid version for every team member. Okay. And so we've mandated across the business that no one is able to use ChatGPT or any other system rather than Copilot. And that's about security of data.
100%, which a lot of people don't get.
Yeah.
A lot of people think what it's called shadow AI, that companies are not aware what their employees are actually.
Yeah.
Probably client documents,
exactly.
internal documents are getting put into ChatGPT.
Yeah. No, we picked up on that really quickly and just said, look, we can't do that, guys. So part of the reason why we've integrated Copilot into the system is because then we have control over it. But it uses the same platform as OpenAI, so it has all the power, but it's behind our security barriers.
Good.
And so that's being rolled out at the moment, and I'm quite excited to see how far we can go with that. We've had a few demonstrations within each of the Microsoft suites, Excel, Word, PowerPoint, as to what it can do and how it can speed up things, and it's really good. And then we use all sorts of things. We use Canva and the AI tools within Canva. Basically trialing lots of different things at the moment and seeing what works. But for us, in reality, if we can automate minute taking, if we can have pre-populated reports that then we hone for projects, and we have something that helps us just stay on top of the admin with our emails and all that kind of thing, then that probably saves 20 to 30% of our daily effort, which is where then we hopefully monopolise on that. And kind of
multipliers come in, perfect.
That's where we're at.
Good, brilliant. No, excellent. Yeah, I think you're doing it exactly right. Can't change exactly what a PM or a QS does, but if you're starting to invest slowly and getting your head around it, and the security data is a massive thing. I think a lot of companies are just not realising this, and you've got to make sure your data is secure, obviously. But I think a lot of people are just almost not putting two and two together with the AI piece of it, which is scary.
I mean, with public work, you generally need Cyber Essentials security, and actually we're seeing some private clients are now asking for it as a standard.
Good.
And I think we'll see more and more now written into appointments, the use of data, the use of AI tools, and the need for Cyber Essentials or Cyber Essentials Plus, and robust security systems. So I think it's just a natural progression, and so we're just trying to get there as quickly as we can. Yeah,
absolutely brilliant. Totally. Good. And is this your first time MIPIM? How long have you been to it?
It's my second time.
Right,
I came with Bureau 4 in 2017,
right, and
I was a lot younger, and I didn't really know what
that
I
was very
doing.
Different to MIPIM 2026.
To be honest, it was a jolly then. Whereas we're quite focused this time. I'm focused on growing our connections in Manchester.
Good.
And the north, and Matt's spending time looking at London-based stuff. So lots of meetings, a few lunches, a few dinners, and there's been some really interesting panel sessions already.
Good.
The Manchester one this morning was excellent.
Right, and that's all within the event. Obviously, I know you've got
within the
for entry. Was that part of the Invest Manchester cost? You got the entry with it.
Yeah, so we joined the Place North delegation. And that's been great. The guys there at Place have been really, really helpful, just putting kind of two and two together for us.
Good.
And so I think we'd probably look to do that again, and it costs a bit more, but the hope was that we'd accelerate 6-12 months worth of networking in 1 week, and so far it's going all right.
Good.
It's kind of going back to the early days of kind of going and introducing myself to people that you don't know, and getting out of your comfort zone a bit more again. But yesterday was positive. Good. And we'll see what today brings.
Brilliant. No, good. I think you've got. Again, companies got to recognise if they're going to grow, you have to make some investments at the end of the day. And you have to put yourself out of your comfort zone as well. All that kind of good stuff that you have to do. I used to hate networking. I think I probably still do. I'm very nervous when you go into a room you don't know anybody. But it's like any muscle you exercise. You just got to do more of it, and you get better at it. I would say.
It's like when you go into a Manchester event or going to a London event. You go into a room of people who broadly know each other and are chatting, like old friends, and that's the way it is when I walk into a Birmingham room. But you've got to get in there and get stuck in, and if you want to get something out of it, then it takes a bit of effort.
Yeah, of course it does. Good. Right, Mike, thanks for being on board with this. We usually ask kind of one or two closing questions at the end. Who has been your best boss or mentor in your career, would you say, and why?
I've had some really good mentors. When I was at Mace on the Developer Success Program, which was after their grad program, you were encouraged to go and get a mentor. And my boss at the time helped set me up with both an internal and an external.
Okay.
And the internal one was Jason Millett, who's now
a decent mentor.
gone on and done very well for himself. And the external one was a guy called Dave Smith at the time, was the head of Morgan Sindall in the region, and he's at went to St Melvin Homes from there, and both were really eye-opening kind of processes where you had some very senior people challenging me to think in a different way.
Wow.
And then when I started Cadence, my wife used to work for Barclays Bank, and the regional managing director, a guy called Ray O'Donoghue, took an interest and has been really, really helpful as a sounding board. So,
nice.
And he's just a very, very lovely chap. And
nice.
Whenever I've had kind of key decisions to make, I can ring Ray and he'll pop over and jump on the worktop and have a cup of tea and talk it through with me. And he's normally, you kind of know the answer and you know based upon your gut what you should do, but having somebody with that experience and that kudos 100%. To bounce things off is massive.
And again, I think that's something a lot of small business owners should invest in, is some kind of NED or advisor. Yeah. Just like you say, someone just to bounce off who's been there, has got some of the scars, and
exactly,
and can challenge you, can prod a little bit, and make you come up with the right answer.
Yeah, I think mentoring's huge.
Yeah. Good. And if you were to gift somebody starting in business a book, if you do read kind of business books, would there be one you'd recommend?
I'll be honest with you, I don't read many business books.
Right.
I really struggled to get into them and stick with them. I read a lot of fiction. But one that I did read that sticks with me and that I really do go back to sometimes is Legend by James Kerr.
Right.
I think it's James Kerr. And it's he's a British autobiographer who writes things from a business point of view.
Right.
And he followed the All Blacks during a World Cup winning season, and he wrote about the way they work as a team, their humble approach to the task at hand, the sum of the parts being much greater than the individual, and so many things in that he then distills down into very, very simple snapshot comments and ideas, and it's also a really easy read. It's not overdone. It's 150 pages, and it's rugby based, so it's quite interesting from my point of view. Because I like rugby, so that's definitely worth reading. I think for anyone who's
amazing
in business.
I'll look that up. I think now you've said it, it does ring a bell now, but I've definitely not read it, so I'll have to look that up.
Yeah, it's worth a go.
Well, Mike, thank you for coming on the pod. I know we did this fairly last minute, so thank you. Appreciate you're a busy guy, and I hope you keep on getting a lot from Mippy, and I'm sure I'll bump into you for a beer.
Yes,
at some point over the next few days.
Nice one, Paul. Cheers. Thanks.
Lovely.